Hello, welcome to Reframing Mindset Podcast. We are clear my head of the thoughts that are preventing clarity, practice my speech, among other things. Episodes range from informative knowledge to funny stories about my experiences, and in the future, maybe include interviews. So subscribe and enjoy. Episodes drop every other day.
Okay, welcome to Reframe Mindset Podcast. My name is Concept Brooks, and this episode to talk about is barren land and dry spells. Because now we talk about farming, a skill, and all those stuff, and resources. And one of the things that I realize that farming, I always watch a lot of TV and news and all those stuff, and with experience, I realize that yes, you can be a skilled farmer and whatnot, but lots of random things can come, and then what would be basically if a big harvest, something just goes wrong, and then boom, none of those harvests are good. Like for example, I, I don't remember when I was so I some watermelon were planted. Remember when I was at my grandmother's place, and it was like watermelon were growing. And something I was told I don't really know the validity yeah it, but they were experienced farmers. I just take their word for it. And what they say is that I think the watermelon. So ironically, the watermelon grows in the dry season. So if it rains, then watermelon would think would actually spoil. So it will be best to grow it in the dry season. That's the weird thing. But I don't really know the full mechanics of actually how it grew. But there was growing some watermelon. Boom, watermelon or reap, and we enjoyed some watermelon for a few times, and it was so nice because actually it was nice because we didn't have to buy watermelon. It was there, and we grew it, enjoy it, and it was a good amount of watermelon. The thing about that time was that the about we grew up in a family house in a community is that you have some when you reap something, just basically give. So it's that you're not going to enjoy all of it. You're gonna give some to some of family friends and all those stuff, but you're not gonna enjoy some of it. So that's basically that's one of the thing, the good and the bad about the community is that you can't enjoy the full extent of it because you have to well you don't have to, but it's good because you never know who may help out a person. Then eventually, because you help them, they when you in a type position now, they in a position now to help you. So it's not something that is commendable. It's something you just don't get no, I realize that it's good to actually do that because put a person in a position when you are down, they're able to bring you back up. That's why you have to really do it. So it's like, boom, I enjoy the the watermelon. But that was what the thing is that you have people that basically farm watermelon for a living. That's their living and their bread. And one time I was watching news and it's like, basically, I think it was some bad thing happened, and like a whole bunch of watermelon got spoiled, bro, for that farmer. A whole bunch. So it's like, that farmer will be could maybe be making bank because of that. It could be either rain or something, but because of that issue, boom, all of that went bad. And similar thing now in the 30th home ownership, some things were planted and I and then because of some bad bad move, those I would have reaped a good amount of stuff in this third year. But because of a bad move, none of those were reaped. So it's like, so what will happen now in this third year of the home ownership? So in the first year, I was reaping a lot. I got a lot of corn, I got a lot of pumpkin, and all those stuff, and all those stuff. And then eventually I got fruit as well. So, we were balling. We were basically living off the land in the first year. Second year, got planting and all those stuff. So basically I was balling. And then eventually, boom, I planted some potato as well was planted, and I actually got some of that as well. And so I was balling like in the first and second year, but eventually the third year, what happened was that the rookiness of my farming skill was exposed, where I I was reaping off the so those things were some of those things were basically were reaped or harvested out of luck. I did not know what caused them to grow. And when I came here, some of them were actually the day before, and then some were just grow up and shooting. So it's like, I did not understand why they were growing or not growing. So it's not something I could basically guess tell you and be like, okay, this is the reason why. So I do this. This will happen again. I didn't understand it. So it's like I was just planting blindly, and because we were planting blindly and all of other factors. Now in the third year, I'm not reaping as much or getting as much because there's a lot of other factors that I'm not accounting for. So that's where the rookiness of farming and all those stuff come in, where where you have dry spells. So it's like, I'm cleaning up the land to actually make a lot of use of the land, but no knowledge of the farming skill. It's basically, I'm not able to actually make good use of it in the third year. It's just that all up to luck and all those stuff. So basically in this third year as well, yeah, what I'm going to actually have to do is do more, maybe try to do more skill based learning. We actually try to make sure that I understand what I am doing so that when it happens, I can actually come and just basically maximize more from it. So that's how you have to actually think about it, to understand more of what you're doing so that you can actually maximize more. So yeah, that's basically for this episode where yeah, and it's not only about farming, it's about anything business as well. You can have a ball in season when you're basically just reaping and doing so good. Then eventually have dry spells and barren lands where basically nothing is going right. Nothing is going right. But what happens is that in those times, what happens is that in the good season when you're basically harvesting a lot, you have to store up all those things because when the barren time comes, that's when you just basically just put down all those things you store up, or all those the good season is able to offset the barren time where you're basically just recouping and we going back to the drawing board again. So that's why you have to really do it where in the good season you make sure that you basically put things away, make moves to invest and offsets for the bad season. Because the thing about it is that what you want to do with things is you want to boom, invest, try to learn something new. When it works, you reap as much as you can from it. But eventually you want to actually go higher. So it's like, you just say, okay, I'm gonna go higher. But the thing about when you go higher is that you're taking a new level of risk. If that risk fails, then if you don't have any cushion, you basically fall down a lot of levels. So what happens is that when you take that thing about investment, when you invest and the investment works and stuff, you have to have a cushion to establish your foundation for the new level before you take on a new risk. You don't invest and then boom. Then you're gonna say, okay, yes, I reaped a lot, and then you're gonna take the money and then go do a higher risk. But what happens is that if you lose all that money, then you're basically back at square zero, or worse than square zero. You're back at worse at square zero because what happens is that the guilt or the sadness of knowing that if you made a smarter decision, you would also is there along with the fact that you don't have the money anymore. But now the fact that okay, you invest, you make a good you made a good investment. Boom, you use some of that money to just basically establish the new level of foundation. So you go to a higher level and establish that foundation. Then you just take a little bit of it. Then after what you invested and then just do a higher risk. When you do a higher risk now, if that fails, you have all this thing that you basically kind of rely on. Yeah, so a dry spell or a bad move don't really upset you that much. You just basically be like, okay, that's a bad move, learn from it. And then when you learn from it now and then you start to read more, then you reach a higher level. You can go to a higher level again because you learn from the mistake, boom, invest. When the investment work, you have the success from the new investment with the higher risk plus the old investment that you basically have, that you basically laid on the foundation. That boom and compound your money again. That's how compound interest works. So that's basically it for this episode. Yeah. You just have to just recognize the buying times, the borrowing times and the dry spell. And then when you have the good times, enjoy the good times but always store things away because when the bad time comes you don't really go it's not really as bad as it was. It's not really as bad as it would be if you did not store anything away in a good time. That's basically it for this episode. Thank you for listening. I look forward for the next episode.
Well, this is the end of the episode. Thanks for watching and look forward for the next episode. To support this podcast, go to anchor.fm/cssb/support or become a sponsor for this episode. If you have a product that you want to have more exposure, DM me on the Instagram page, Reframing Mindset Podcast, or on Twitter at ReframingP. Either way would help. Thank you regardless for listening, and here's a preview for the next episode.